At my brother's wedding, I expected smiles, laughter, and family warmth, but instead, I was told something I'll never forget: sit quietly in the back. Those words weren't just instructions, they were a clear message that I didn't belong in the spotlight, that my presence was something to be tucked away like an unwanted guest. What happened afterward turned that humiliating moment into a memory none of the guests will ever forget. By the end of the night, the room went silent, and not for the reasons you'd expect. The day started beautifully, flowers lined the entrance, the music was soft, and guests looked radiant in their suits and gowns. I had put on my best outfit, not flashy, not underdressed, just respectful for the occasion. After all, it wasn't just any wedding, it was my brother's big day, a moment we'd been building toward for months. But the closer I got to the venue, the more I felt like an outsider. While relatives gathered in groups laughing and greeting one another, I noticed glances. They weren't friendly, they weren't warm. There was a stiffness, like whispers were floating around before I even arrived. Still, I brushed it off, determined to focus on celebrating. That was until the bride's family approached me with a request that felt more like an order. "Could you sit quietly in the back? We don't want any distractions today." The words hit me harder than I expected. I wasn't a stranger, I was the groom's sibling. To be pushed aside so deliberately was humiliating. My stomach dropped, and my cheeks burned as I nodded politely, though inside, I was boiling. What distraction could I possibly cause just by existing? It wasn't just about seating, it was about silencing me, making sure I blended into the background while the perfect family image played out. Guests nearby heard it, too. I saw the quick exchange of raised brows and whispered comments. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just thoughtless, it was intentional. They wanted me invisible. But that decision, their attempt to erase me from the day, would backfire spectacularly in ways none of them could have predicted. As the ceremony started, I sat in the far back, feeling the sting of humiliation with every vow spoken. My brother looked happy, but I couldn't ignore how his eyes never once met mine. It was as if he'd agreed to this arrangement. Maybe it was his way of avoiding conflict, or maybe he wanted the same thing, me tucked away, quiet. Guests turned to watch the bride walk down the aisle, and the room buzzed with excitement, but I couldn't shake the bitterness rising inside me. Sitting there, unwanted, I realized they underestimated me. The truth was, I held a piece of knowledge no one else in that room had. And while they were busy pretending I didn't exist, I was silently debating whether to let the day continue smoothly, or to speak up and let everyone see the cracks beneath the polished surface. When the speeches began, the humiliation deepened. Cousins, uncles, friends, all had their moment to step up and speak about the bride and groom. I sat silently in the back, clutching my napkin as though it might ground me. Finally, someone turned and asked if I was going to say something. Before I could answer, the bride's mother quickly cut in. No, let's keep things moving." That was the final straw. It wasn't just exclusion, it was censorship. My voice, my presence, was being erased in real time. And while most people might have stayed silent to avoid ruining the event, I knew I had been pushed far enough. What happened next changed the mood in the room instantly. I stood up, ignoring the startled faces as my chair scraped against the floor. The microphone was in my hand before anyone could stop me. I started calmly, "Since I wasn't supposed to speak today, maybe it's time I finally do." The room hushed. I revealed truths no one wanted aired in public. I spoke of the countless times I had been there for my brother, covering for him, supporting him, even helping him financially when things were tough. I reminded the room of loyalty, sacrifice, and bonds that had been conveniently forgotten now that appearances mattered more than relationships. Then came the part that silenced even the bride's family. I disclosed a secret I had kept for too long: how the bride once came to me for help when she and my brother had nearly broken up, how she admitted doubts that she later buried. Gasps rippled through the crowd. It wasn't an attack, it was the truth. And the truth has a way of echoing louder than any planned speech. For a moment, there was nothing No clinking glasses, no polite coughs, no whispers. Just silence. My brother's face drained of color, the bride looked as if the floor might swallow her whole, and the guests shifted uncomfortably in their seats. It was one of those rare moments where everyone knew the dynamic had changed. I didn't yell, I didn't cause a scene. I simply revealed what had been hidden. The same family that wanted me silent now had to sit with the weight of every word I had spoken. My brother avoided my gaze, and I knew our relationship would never be the same. But as I walked back to my seat in the back, the same seat they had pushed me into earlier, I felt a quiet strength. They had tried to silence me, but in the end, I was the only one everyone remembered. Sometimes silence is not about peace, it's about control. At my brother's wedding, I learned that when people try to erase your presence, the most powerful thing you can do is remind them you exist. I wasn't supposed to speak, I wasn't supposed to be noticed, but by refusing to accept invisibility, I made sure the truth couldn't be ignored. The room may have gone silent that night, but it wasn't out of dismissal, it was because honesty rang louder than pretense. And in that silence, I finally found my voice.